views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to the transformative show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now? And who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine. Now, here is your host, Dr. Susan Allison.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Carry the Light, where you find inspiration for transformation. I am Dr. Susan, and I'm so glad you're here. I hope your week is going well. Mine has been about playing catch-up after being away for 2 weeks on a great trip with my son to Scotland and Ireland. And if you, probably this has happened to you, that you get back, your desk is piled with mail and you have people who are waiting in the wings to see you. So I have clients who've been waiting to see me. And so my days have been pretty busy since I've been home. My house needed some TLC. My garden was overgrown. My dog and cat have not left my side. So this happens after we've been away on a great trip. We come home and we come home to our life. So I also have been reading The Superwoman's Guide to Super Fulfillment by Jaime Kulaga, and perfect book for me this week, coming back, running into my life this week, because she has so many tips and so much wisdom for how we can be in balance and not be crazy superwomen. I know for myself, I have been a woman who has tried to do it all for my entire life. I've worked full time. I've raised 2 children, 2 stepchildren. I have grandchildren. I have, had a career that has spanned, decades. And I was just remembering this morning in reading her book, one time I got to work and I was teaching, and my fellow colleague was arriving at the same time in the mailroom. She looks at me, we're both kind of disheveled, and she says, I feel like I have put in an entire day before I got here. And we both dropped our kids off at the same person who was the caregiver for our kids. And we were exhausted, and we were just starting our day at like 8 in the morning. So I have definitely been there. My life now is different. I don't have children at home. I work part-time, and I'm widowed, so I'm single for the first time since college. Do I still sometimes feel overwhelmed? Yes, because as women, I think we fill up whatever gap is there, and we just keep doing, which is what I have done. I now do work part-time in a therapy practice, but I have a radio show. I have a full-time writing career. I have my 5th book coming out in a month. So I have still been the superwoman despite the changes in my life. So how do we feel more fulfilled and able to balance our personal life and our professional life? Jaime Kulaga is going to tell us how on the show today. We're lucky to have her as our guest. She knows firsthand about being a superwoman. She's a married mother of 2, an author, speaker, workshop leader, and she has a Ph.D. as well as a practice as a counselor and coach. She has a thriving business called Mindful Rehabilitation, and she works with women all over the world who want less stress and more happiness in their lives. And lucky us, she's right here to share her wisdom and lend support to all of us superwomen. So welcome, Jaime. I'm so glad you joined us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I was listening to the awesome intro and, how you talked about putting in a full day's work before 8 a.m. And that I'm going to use that example. So I want you to know I'm going to share that with the world because that is a great example. That's how I feel so many women feel. Yes, we put in a full day before we start our full day. So
Exactly. I mean, I had gotten my two kids ready, gotten them out the door, lunch is packed, to, the childcare person, etc., trying to do my lesson plans in my head for my day. I mean, I remember, reading your book made me remember those days so well.
Oh, my God. I just went through that the other morning, yesterday morning. I get up. I'm getting the boys ready for school. I'm getting myself ready for work. Come on, boys, come on. Tying the shoes. One screaming in the other room. Ants were coming in off the window onto his toy. I'm trying to spray it with wasp hornet stuff. I'm like, is this even going to kill an ant? I don't even know. I mean, it was just like chaos. Then we can't find the other shoe. The homework is who knows where. Dog ate it. We don't even have a dog. And oh, my, and that was before we got out the door at 7:08 in the morning.
I totally, and I had a kid who would stare at her shoe, and she was completely in her own little world, and I'd come in and she was still staring at her shoe. And I know your book helped me go back, and I could laugh about it like we are, but you're still in the throes of it, and I'm a bit beyond that stage.
Yeah, so you can't laugh at me because I'm still here. So you're going to have to wait a few more years and then you can laugh.
I have definitely been there.
So thank you for having me. I am just thrilled to be here today.
Okay, good. I'm glad to have you. I always start with the personal because my listeners love the stories that we tell about our own lives and they can relate. Tell us how your own life prompted you to write this book, to be an advocate and support for women.
Okay. So my own life is different from how the book started. So kind of how I got started in this field that led me to specifically working with women was, if you're going back a little bit to the childhood times, I was the daughter that was part of the classic divorce and the fighting and the this and the that. But something that I as I've taken time to reflect over the years, what happened, I was about 12 when my dad had left the family, and I had this foundational understanding in life that, and it was obviously a child's perception, when you're married, you can't leave. That's just what I thought. So it doesn't matter what happens, you can't go. So I had this thought about men, I had this thought about God, and I had this thought about family. And when my dad left, all three of those things changed. That was it. My mom hadn't worked a day in her life. She has no money, and now she's raising two daughters by herself out of nowhere, literally one day. And to see what she went through, I said, one, I don't want to be that person. So she had no education, and she had no prior work experience. And I said, I'm not doing that to myself. So that's kind of what got me on the path to always going for education. But in the same point, sitting there day in and year after year watching her suffer and struggle, I said, if I get the education and I have the knowledge that you don't want to put yourself in that situation, maybe I can share that word with other women and really encourage them and inspire them to start their own thing and, separate of the family, go to school and do those things you've always wanted to do, and you can still do that and run your family. But that way, if you ever are abandoned in any capacity, you can do it by yourself. You're not just there, empty. And I think that's how everything got started in respect to psychology and counseling and working with women. Yeah. So that was sort of my journey into where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that happens for all of us in terms of there are seeds in our childhoods. There's seeds in we can even remember where we were when it happened. It's like I was in the car with my mother, and she turned to me and she said, don't ever depend on a man to take care of you and support you, because you never know what's going to happen. You need to have your own education. You need to have your own life. And I remember where we were. I remember the moment, it's crystal clear that and my mother was a librarian, but she quit work, to have me and stay home and be a housewife. And she was really never happy after that, after she didn't have her own career and have her own life. She she told me once, I'm really tired of being Susan's mother and Nels's wife. And she really was a person who should have at least kept working part-time.
Yep. Exactly. And the thing is, too, out there, if you don't want to work, that's okay. If you want to play mom, I love playing mom. I love doing that. But at least have something so that when the kids leave at some point, because that will happen, and whether or not you're married, you talked about being widowed when I heard your intro. It doesn't just have to be that your husband leaves. I mean, most men do want to stay. Most men are good. That is the truth. But there are other factors. And when you are left there alone at some point, and I get so many women that come into my office and they're about to hit retirement, and they're like, I've given myself to everything, my husband, my children, and my job. Now I'm retiring. I don't know what to do. What do I do? And I'm like, I don't know what you do. Let's talk about it. But you don't want to end up that way. And sometimes a tragic accident with your husband could happen early in life, for God's sakes, and you want to be able to find fulfillment and be able to continue on. So it's almost like a plan B in a way. So
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to encourage women. I think that being a mother and giving children an amazing foundation is the hardest job and the most important job there is for us, I feel.
Yes.
I'm a feminist, but I still believe that foundation is crucial for kids. And so I'm glad you said that. And yes, my husband was fairly young when he died. And so, so that wasn't something we expected. We expected to live, together for decades more, and, be going down the street holding hands as we were white-haired. We expected that, and that didn't happen. So you have to have, like you say, you have to have a plan B.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So
I would love to get to your book, which is, about being a different kind of superwoman. But I'd like you to say what is a superwoman. Let's start there.
Okay, well, there are two kinds of superwoman. There is a superwoman, 2 words, and that is almost every single woman that you meet. She is a superwoman. She is someone that can take on more. She can juggle it. She gets it all done. We don't have to teach women to be superwomen. We are just that nowadays. But to be the true superwoman, where you combine the words and you take off for liftoff, that is a woman that can do all those things, but at the same time, she can give to herself. She knows when to say no, and she confidently says no. So that would be the difference. So oftentimes I see the regular superwoman, the woman that I definitely used to be, but I was juggling it all. I was dealing with it all. I was getting it all done. But I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I was crying all the time. I was saying yes to things that were taking me off my priorities, and I clearly should have said no to, but I didn't because of fear or because of guilt. But now I'm a different kind of superwoman, and I'm trying to educate women all over the world to become this different kind of superwoman, where you can say no to things. You're okay if you do something for yourself. You don't feel so guilty about it, and that you're living a more fulfilled life. So that's a true superwoman.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you define that in your book. Let's talk about 2 things you just mentioned. One is the tendency to put everybody else first, and then also to feel guilty that we're not doing enough. So talk about that. Like, where the heck does that come from? Why are we that way? And just about every woman I know has those tendencies.
Okay, so why are we that way? Here is my best answer to that, based on what I've been through, what women I have coached have been through, and what I've seen throughout some of the research I've done. When we are younger, let's say we're in our 20s, we are excited about our life. We can't wait to get married. We can't wait to have baby. We just had our first career out of school. We're feeling good. And now we start playing house. And it's really, really fun. So we got this super cool job, and we have our first baby, and we've walked down the aisle, and we've had that great, amazing wedding day. And then everyone starts looking around at us, and they're like, this girl has it all. Oh, my God, she's got the good-looking husband and the cutest baby ever, and wow, she got that job right out of school, and she's taking on this, and she's taking on that, and people are giving you these great comments, and you're like, oh, yeah, this feels good. And then you get that person that's like, wow, you are a superwoman, and you've instantly been labeled. Now you do everything to live up to this, and society is going to help you live up to this because society has standards. So you take on more because you're a superwoman, and everyone thinks that you can do that. You become the go-to person, and you just keep cycling, living up to this role, taking on more and more. But then there's a day that comes, and usually it's in your 30s, you're probably early to mid-30s, and you say, oh, my gosh, I need a breath. I don't want to be Superwoman anymore. She's not very cool, and she's very draining. But you are officially the go-to person, and you've held yourself to this standard. So you continue to cycle in saying yes. And at this point, you want to do something for yourself, but you feel that you can't do anything for yourself. And that's when you get the stress and the overwhelmed, and you find that you're starting to lack fulfillment. And if this keeps going, that's when you get into your 40s and early 50s, and you feel very unfulfilled because you've been doing it for so many years and decades at that point.
Yep, putting everybody else first. As I see
everything and everybody.
In my practice, I see women who have done that for decades. And the other thing, I counsel couples a lot, and I also feel that as women, we have this belief, and I think it goes back to even our Neanderthal ancestors, back to the cave people. I feel that we really take on that we're responsible for the relationship, and I see that constantly. We're responsible to keep it together. We're responsible, for making sure that everything is running smoothly, and we're that person that we have that huge, huge responsibility when really it's only, our own 50%. But I think as women, we hold that we have to do that.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that when things aren't held together or relationships go bad, you assume 100% of that problem.
Absolutely.
This is completely my fault. What did I do wrong? I mean, you get those women where their men have cheated on them or something, and they worked so hard and they kept the family together, and they've done everything in the right. Okay, and obviously the roles can be reversed, but we're talking about women here. And then they just say, "What did I do wrong?" And people are looking at them like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? You've done everything wonderfully. But they assume the entire fault. And what a blow to the confidence is as a human.
I'll say. Yeah, so I wrote a book on divorce called Conscious Divorce with Random House. So I worked for years leading women's groups, women who were separated or divorcing. And that's one reason I said that about our carrying the responsibility for the relationship, because that's what I've seen over the years is women feel this huge, huge weight and responsibility. And if it does go awry, then they say, what did I do wrong? There must have been something I did to cause this. Yeah. And it's I think it's endemic in our culture that women end up feeling that way when it's they have part of the responsibility for what happened, but they don't have all of it.
That's so. In fact, it's funny as you're talking. I'm thinking about a student that I in one of my courses that I teach right now, and one of the assignments was to talk about something like a failure in the past and how you've learned from it and overcame it. And she talked about going through a divorce, and it was the hardest thing of her life. And she said, because of that, I wasn't able to go to school. Because I got divorced, I wasn't able to go to school. I wasn't able to do all of these other things she listed off because that one thing made her feel like a failure in every other area of life. And I wrote her back and I said, don't let this one instance, this one negative in life define your entire life and all of your worth. Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. It's horrible. It could be devastating for people. But you have to leave that devastation. You have to leave that loss of self-worth, let's say, in that one compartment in life. You can't let it steal everything else that you could be amazing at in life. And people really ruin their lives taking that sadness and lack of confidence and throwing it into everything else that they could be amazing at.
I agree. And the guilt, too, carrying that guilt. So how do we stop putting everybody first and feeling guilty when we're not perfect? How do we stop that cycle?
Okay, so one of the very first things that you'll encounter, whether you read the book or you came into a coaching session with me, is we're going to prioritize, and we're going to prioritize your life roles. So here's sort of the way that you would do that. I would ask you, and I challenge everyone out there, to create a list of every life role that you play. So your mom, your spouse, your employee, your PTA mom or PTA president, you're the chauffeur, you're the therapist to negative Nancy in the office. I mean, list out everything, the grocery shopper, the laundry doer. And once you make that list, I want you to circle the top 5 on the list. The catch is you have to be on that list. Typically, when you make this list, you are not going to be on it. So you're going to circle me, and then you're going to circle 4 other things. What you want to do is you want to give dedicated 100% of time to those 5 life roles. That doesn't mean that's all you do, but the 5 that you pick, you want to be in the moment with them or that role when you are interacting with it. So if you're with your children, you don't have to give them 4 hours of time. You can give them 25 minutes of time playing Thomas the Train on the ground. You're not on your computer. You're not, doing all these other things, cleaning that we do. Enjoy the time with them. Be dedicated. Same as if you're with your spouse. Give him dedicated time. That way, when you have to do other things in life, they're more accepting. And when you walk away, you're less guilty. Now, the importance of those top 5 roles is that that's what is most important to you, and it probably has something to do with your value system. So when those top 5 life roles are in order and you feel that they're balanced, you're more confident and less guilty in life. And so when tasks come in, because now you know what your priorities are, when tasks come in from the outside world, you get all these people every day asking you, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? When you know your priorities, you're more apt to say no to those things because you know it's going to take away time from the things that are most important. And when you start dropping those 5 life roles for other little non-necessary things, that's when you're going to feel the imbalance in your life. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. No, I really like that chapter where you had readers list their top life roles, and me was at the top. And I think you're right that often as women, we don't even have ourselves on the list.
No, we don't. In every Superwoman workshop I've ever held, I have yet to have a woman put me on the list. So I'm hoping as I spread the word across the world, one day I'm going to have a workshop and a woman's going to raise her hand and be like, I know this game. I'm going to put me on it.
I think that the more you say this, the more we're going to finally, the light's going to dawn that we have to be at the top of that list.
Yay!
Yay. You know, it's interesting. In one of my other books, I had something that was actually taught to me by a spiritual teacher called the hierarchy of happiness. And actually, spiritual practice was at the top, like a spiritual belief. And then you were next in terms of the importance of focusing on something spiritual, then focusing on yourself, focusing on loved ones, and work was about 4 or 5. Because I also see that people have their priorities way out of balance, that they have work as number 1 in this culture, and then relationships with people, and particularly with themselves, they're way, way, way down on the list.
Yep. And that's typically, you need those, you need to put the people above the work, because when work goes bad, who do you complain to? Who do you need support from?
Exactly.
So you can't use those people only as, hey, let me complain to you and tell you how bad or how much support I need. You need to make sure that you're also reciprocating that and that you're giving them that dedicated time and love and attention, and let them know that they are a priority. That way when things go wrong at work, then you do have a shoulder to lean on. You don't want to burn that bridge either with your support systems. So, or make a relationship that's very one-sided, because that's never fulfilling.
No, and also in terms of what is truly important in life, and I think in this culture we lose sight of what's important. I mean, how many people have you heard of on their deathbed have their banker, their stockbroker, financial consultant, etc., standing there?
Never.
Never. The people that we love are around us, and I think that we've lost sight in this culture that what's most important is relationship to something spiritual, relationship to ourselves, in terms of our becoming higher and better people all the time, and a relationship with loved ones and friends, those around us. So I think that the priorities really need looking at in this culture.
Yeah, we're really losing. You used the key word, actually, relationships. I think with all of the internet and the computer and how beautiful technology can be, I think it has really, really pushed us away from the importance of relationships. Look at computers are important. Work is important. So often are we pushing the spouses to the side, ourselves to the side,
That's
the kids
right.
to the side. Those are the relationships, and we're just completely ignoring them or pushing them aside and making them second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth on the list.
Yeah. And I like how you say that, we don't get the support we need from society or from our culture. Instead, I mean, I've had clients that work for Apple, that work for other corporations, that they're expected to work like 60, sometimes 80-hour weeks, to work on weekends. If they have a family, it's just too bad. And, I've had several clients leave the bigger corporations and go to smaller corporations that really have the priorities much more balanced in terms of giving people time off, giving mothers time to be with their babies. So I think that people are eventually, hopefully, waking up that is a crazy way to live.
It is, and it's an unfulfilling way to live, because you will get there when you just say, you know what, I can't do it, and I've missed a lot. That's the worst, and that's what I started realizing at some point. And I still have young ones. I have a 5 and an 8-year-old, and a few years ago, I said to myself, I'm starting to miss things because I'm putting work first, and I'm not even enjoying it. I'm crying all the time. Why am I doing this? And I'm going to wake up, and they're going to be in high school, and they're going to want nothing to do with me. So I need to capture this now, because it is amazing how quick time goes by. So, instead of everyone out there, if you're waiting for a sign, maybe instead of waiting until next year or the year after to do what it is you're looking to do for your fulfillment, maybe try to put a plan in place to make baby steps starting this week.
Excellent idea. Excellent. Yeah. We need to take a break, but this is fascinating and so helpful to all the women out there, and we'll be right back after the break.
Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. But baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Yeah, we'll be counting stars.
Tune in to Prescience Life Radio with host Mia Simone. Mia is devoted to sharing her extensive knowledge on the invisible worlds of energy. Join Mia and discover the science of intuition and connect with your greatest gift. Start living in your potential today and every day by opening up to the power of inner knowledge. To learn more about Mia, visit presciencelife.com.
Become a self-actualized professional coach, mentor, and leader, and make your difference in the world. The Rainer Institute has trained people from 4 continents and is the top-rated, accredited coach platform in the world. You'll learn skills from a program created by Mark Rainer as a result of 35 years of research as to what actually works for positive, lasting change. Come if you dare and give your life a chance at making the difference it so desires. Visit RainerInstitute.com to learn more.
Would you like to remember more of your dreams or understand the ones you have? How about leveraging your sleeping hours to create more in your life? Most of us aren't familiar with this powerful aspect of ourselves. Join Lynn Brown, host of Get Into It, Winning at the Game of Life, at her unique Astral Allies Retreat, September 24th through the 27th. This 3-night retreat in the Cascade Mountains includes food, lodging, energy healings, free time in nature, and immeasurable spiritual growth. Email lynn@ruintoit.com to register, as space is limited.
Let the transition begin. Tune in to the hit show, Majestic Insights Radio, Success for Life's Transitions, with host Carrie Keith. Carrie is a gifted intuitive coach, healer, and teacher who will lead you through her empowering techniques of ancient wisdom and awareness so you can live your happiest, healthiest, and most vibrant life. Let Carrie teach you the tools of transformation that will help you experience success for all of life's transitions. To learn more about Carrie, visit www.majesticinsights.com.
Something so right, doing the wrong thing. I feel something so wrong, doing the right thing. I could lie.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to We Carry the Light. This is Dr. Susan, and I have Jaime Kulaga here, who is helping all of us superwomen learn to balance our lives and learn to have fulfillment in our lives instead of being stressed and working ourselves to death and never feeling like we're doing enough. So I'm so happy you're here. And Jaime, tell listeners how to contact you, how to get your book, if you have workshops coming up, and so on.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, you can go to drjamik.com. That's drjamik.com, and you can. There's a link to purchase the book there. There's information on coaching sessions, whether it's in person or like face-to-face or over the phone, all the information on workshops. And we're starting an amazing series called 15 to Fierce. It's 15-minute, quick little pump-me-up workshops. And check the website for those. That should be hitting in about another 2 weeks, so around the 1st of October. So that'll be awesome. And then you can, of course, for the book, The Superwoman's Guide, you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million to purchase the book as well.
Good. And it's Jaime.
It is, but you know what? As a businesswoman, I said, wait a minute, I need to spell it both ways. So whether it's Jaime or Jamie, you will get there. So
awesome.
drjamik.com.
I was worried about that because I took French. I was thinking, oh my gosh, how do I pronounce her name? Yeah. And so
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. No, I'm glad that you said that because I was kind of nervous people would not spell it correctly and never find you.
Nope. I thought about that one.
Okay, great. I'm so glad you did. So we have been talking about a lot of things, about figuring out what our top life roles are, how we can be more confident, how we can put ourselves first. Let's talk about the barriers to doing that. And they're barriers that we create ourselves, most of them. So what are some barriers, some things that keep us from really being able to be balanced and be happier?
Wow. Oh, my goodness. That's guilt. That's fear. That's anger. That's anxiety. It's perfectionism. It's control. So I'm going to let you pick which one you want to start with, and then we can chat about those.
I liked how you talked about anxiety, and you also talked about how a lot of feelings we're having are masking that there's anger there that we've stuffed down. Because it's not okay for us as women to be angry.
Right, exactly. So a lot of times, women, and you see this a lot in men too. So women out there, if you have a man that's very angry, and even if he's gone through, let's say, anger management, or you're like, why are you so mad? Nothing's even wrong. A lot of times it's really not anger. It's actually his anxiety is so amped up. So you want to find ways to bring down his anxiety, and then consequently, the anger will go down too. But that happens for women as well. So sometimes you might see that you're very angry, frustrated, you have a very low mood. it could be because your anxiety is high. So, really working through the anxiety and the anger, and you'll notice they correlate very well together. So you want to work on them together to bring that down. One of the things that I notice can spike anger and anxiety, and here's a tip as well, is worry when it's time to worry. So often as women, we are worrying unnecessarily. So we either worry and it doesn't happen, so we've drained our energy for nothing, or we worry and then we make it happen. And then my favorite, which I've done, and I laugh at myself for it, is everything is going well. And so then I start panicking. Why is everything going so good? Why have I had like a really great month? I mean, it must be a big crash. There's going to be something very wrong is going to happen. And my husband looks at me like I have four heads. And he's like, okay, so you're freaking out because everything's going good? And I'm like, yes. He's like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you, lady? So my tip to you to decrease anxiety and anger is worry when it's time to worry. So while you can plan for the future, make sure you're not worrying unnecessarily about things that you can't control or you have no idea what the future is going to bring. Instead, channel that energy into now and make the outcome what you want it to be, something positive. So
good. I like that.
Yeah.
As I think about when I have been angry or frustrated or kind of slamming things around, it's been when I have not taken any time at all for myself. Yeah. And I'm completely burned out and I'm upset that I have given everything I have, every ounce of energy to everybody else and everything else, and I haven't taken one moment to just relax or sit down or meditate or go for a walk or exercise. I've put myself last and I'm angry about it. And that's when I notice when I'm angry, it's a frustration around not taking care of myself, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and that's why you have to be on the list, because while you can be good and in the moment for everyone else, if you are not there for yourself, if you are down in health mentally or physically, you can't give to anything else. And that's what was happening in your case. So now you're down mentally because you've given to everything else, but there was one life role that you were missing, and that was you. You weren't giving anything to you. So when any of your 5 life roles are out of balance, and in your case, you were out of balance, yep, nothing else seems to be going okay. You're frustrated, you're irritated, you're angry. So you really have to believe in the concept that you are one of the top 5 life roles and that you have to give to you. And when you believe that and you truly understand that, because it's not a myth, ladies, you really do have to give to yourself, then you are going to have less guilt. Because so many times we have anxiety and anger because we haven't rested, we haven't given anything to ourselves. And we know that. But we have guilt if we give to ourselves. And women avoid that feeling of guilt. So now we know we need to give to ourselves, but we're not going to do it anyway because we don't want to feel guilty, because we can take this time and do something else with it, give to someone else. So we really got to try to get away from that feeling of guilt, and that comes from really buying into believing you are on that life roll list.
Yes, I totally agree with you. It's so important. And once we put ourselves first, once we go for a run or do whatever it is that brings us joy, then everything falls into place. Then we're happy to see our children. We're happy to be going to our job. If we have done something that is super fulfilling for us and fills us back up, because I feel as women, we are constantly emptying, so that we're running on empty. So what can we do? What can we do that fills us back up so that we are givers, which I love being a giver as a person. And I have to have some reserve. I have to have something inside here to give from.
Absolutely. I can tell you that almost the entire book, The Superwoman's Guide, was written on a run, because I made that commitment to myself that I will walk or run almost every day. And for some reason, when I walked or ran, I said to myself, okay, you're not working right now because you can't work. You can't be mom. You are running alone. This is what you are doing. This is who you are at the moment. So I had a very clear mind, just empty. So as I was running, it allowed for all this inspiration, whether it was a book I was listening to on tape or a song, or maybe I saw a palm tree blowing in the wind, or I don't know, but all of my inspiration for the book and my ideas, almost all of it came from those runs. And I would be running, and then I would go to the little note app, and I'd be like, and I'd say something like, oh, fulfillment on a kayak. And then when I would come home to write, I'd have a list of all these ideas of things I wanted to write about. And it came from stopping from the chaos in life and opening my mind to the beauty and the peace around me. So.
Oh, I love that. That is my belief as well, because I am a writer, I'm a songwriter, a singer. I also, have written poetry books, nonfiction books, and that's where I get inspired is I'm out in nature somewhere, I'm walking on a beach, I'm riding my bike, I'm doing something, because you see what happens is that we turn off the conscious brain, the mind, that sort of linear brain, and we go into something that's much more creative. And so those creative juices can bubble up, and I call them divine downloads that I get. Like I'll get a whole song will just come in through the top of my head, come in, and I get it, and then I have to quickly record it. But it doesn't happen when I am crunching numbers or doing my checkbook or whatever. It happens when I'm, like you, when I'm out somewhere and I'm not in that linear brain is where we can be the most creative.
Absolutely. I was doing a radio show one day, another one, and the guy had said to me, oh, it sounds like we're talking about fulfillment, and he says, oh, it sounds to me like a lot of people are, doing all this work and, working with the kids and working at work and working and working and working, and they've missed out on the creative side, right? That's the writing and the singing and the art and the painting, and they're not considering that side of things anymore, so they're pushing it off. But those are the things, ladies out there that are listening, those are the things that are going to spark fulfillment. So think about that language you wanted to learn, or you wanted to learn to paint, or you used to paint and you would just love to do it again. I get that so often. Painting is a huge one from the women I talk with. It's such an expression of emotion. It reduces stress, and that in the moment presence leads to that feeling of fulfillment. So if you're doing that, a few times a week, you're going to feel more fulfilled in life because the negative is off of you and you've enjoyed more moments in your life. You're not just skipping through life to get to the end line. So really finding that creative outlet, I challenge women to explore that side of themselves.
Yeah, it's also what we were talking about filling yourself up. So, and then you're not running on empty. You're filled up with something that really brings you joy. And I'm in a dance class. I'm in a painting class. I do poetry readings. I mean, I do all these things that are creative that really inspire me. And then I have more juice that I can give to other people and I can share with the world.
One of the things you mentioned was about filling you up, and in the book I talk about, and so this is a good way for all you women out there to kind of visualize this, is I talk about you get 20 energy dollars per day. So this is what your energy runs on, is these $21 bills. And every time you do something, it costs you $1. So you want to be very cognizant of where you're spending this money. So maybe you've got to give one to the hubby, you've got to give one to the kids, you're giving one to yourself, you've got to give one to the boss today, you want to go do that run, there's another one. So you would be very cautious if you truly only had $20 a day. You wouldn't give it to negative Nancy in the office that stirs up drama. You wouldn't give her that $1 of your energy to sit there and just let her, blah, 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 all about this negativity to you, and you walk away drained. You wouldn't give these the little bit of your money that you have, which is your energy, the little bit, you wouldn't give it to all these negative things in life that we so often give our attention to, that drain us or put us in that negative spot. So cognizantly think every day when you go to interact with something or take on another role or another task, do I really want to give this $1 of my energy because I only have 20? And the great thing is at the end of the day, if you have a couple bucks left, you get to bank it in the reserve. And you want that reserve to build up. That way you can avoid living in crisis mode. Because when you give $40 a day and you only have 20, you're starting to buy into living in crisis mode. So you want to bank those so that when a crisis hits, you can, okay, I can confidently deal with this. It might be hard, it might be sad, but I can get through it. And that keeps you more open-minded and solution-focused. So you really want to be cautious in how you're spending your energy every day.
I love that. That's so practical and visual, and everybody can do it. So what about the times when we need to reach out and we need to ask for help? Why is that important, and why is it so hard for some of us?
I think we've trained ourselves. We've trained ourselves, and society has trained us. Again, we're the go-to. We're the person that has all the resources, all the connections. We can figure it out. We can get it done. And then now when we need help, we have no one to turn to because, well, we always do all of it. So now where do we go? What do we do? And we get in this habit, too, of saying, I've always done it all myself. I always do it by myself. No one ever helps me. And sometimes we throw a pity party about it. I've done it. I have done it. But the more you brainwash yourself into thinking you don't have anyone, you don't have support, no, you don't understand, I really have no one, the more you tell yourself that, the more it becomes true. You close your mind to help that you don't even know is there. You close your mind to supports, or you burn bridges so that you deliberately are pushing away support systems. So I would say, that's why it's so hard to reach out, because we have put ourselves in this position, consciously or unconsciously, to not have that support. But it is so important to have support, and I've learned that in every capacity. So maybe you don't have your mom and dad. I get it. I've been there. I told you my story. But at the same time, I needed support through the book. I needed support through my dissertation. I need support raising my kids. And I ask for help. And I accept the help now. And I realize that the greatest leaders of the world never, ever did it themselves. They had support every step of the way.
Yeah, that is so true. And that's been a very hard lesson for me, because I have always been super independent and strong and doing it all. And, our ego gets involved in that. And we have to bust our ego and get out of the perfectionism, get out of, feeling like somebody's going to judge us if we don't do it or do it well, et cetera. We have to get out of all those stories.
Yeah, and, everyone out there, I want you to write down, my ego is not my amigo.
It's so true. It's so true.
And to recognize, you actually said something wonderful right there. You said, I pride myself on being this independent woman and this, that, and the other. Ladies out there, you can be a very independent woman and still have support all of the time. Independence doesn't mean you don't ever have help with anything ever. That's not what independence means. Independence is going back to that example I gave you of my mom. So if my dad left, my mom could say, well, if my dad left and my mom had that education and that experience, she's independent. Okay, I'm going to take these kids, I'm going to go start work, I'm going to do what I can do, and I'm going to get it done. But hey, if someone wants to babysit the kids, that's okay. It doesn't make me not independent anymore,
right?
If someone wants to help me do X, Y, Z, it doesn't mean I'm not an independent woman. I mean, for me, and from my perspective, look at everything I've done. If someone comes around and helps me with a few things, it doesn't mean I'm not an independent woman. It just means I have support systems and networks. That's what that means.
Exactly. It's interesting to me when you look back at our ancestry, as women, we were the ones in camp sitting in a circle and talking as we're grinding grains or we're scraping a animal skin or whatever we were doing. We were in circle and we were in communication with one another. And I think it's so important to remember that as women, we've always been in circle with one another, and that we need to continue to do that and support each other in this life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we can be all the things that men are, and we get the one up. We have great communication. It's just natural to us.
Right.
We are supporters, we are people pleasers, and if we do it in the right capacity, we can thrive in any area of life. And I think that as we continue to catch on to this, you're going to see more women in major leadership roles. We don't have to be aggressive. When I talk about this in the book, our sexiest, our best, our most, the best of the best asset that we could ever have is our confidence. I mean, when you walk into a room, a networking event, a conference, you know the woman that is confident because you either want to be her, you're like, oh, who's that? Your eye just catches her. She's standing different. She believes in herself. And when you get to that point in life, you have no problem bringing up other people with you because you don't see it as a threat, like, oh, I need to keep them down there because I fear. No, you're confident enough to say, hey, here are some of my resources. Come on up with me. My spot is secure. I'm good.
Yep. I love that you're bringing that up because I think that, again, in this culture, women have competed with one another, and yep. we have competed with one another for men, and there's been this cattiness and this lack of connection with women at times that I hope is changing. But in my generation, it was definitely true that women competed. And I lived in Japan for a while, and I had a woman say to me, I'm so glad I don't live there because you are not friends with one another like we are here. And you don't you don't support each other like we do. And I had to really think about that and take a look at the fact that traditionally we have been in competition as women. And I don't like that at all. And I have no one in my life that I'm that way with. I have all women that I love and support, and they support me. And I want that for all women who are listening.
Mm-hmm. And too, if you think about it, when you spend your energy on trying to block someone from moving up, when you spend your energy on cattiness or revenge, that's energy. You have chosen to spend those energy dollars. Stop that and start taking the energy dollars and redirecting them towards your own life, and you'd probably move up even quicker.
That's right.
Right? Because you're not channeling these strong emotions and energy towards the wrong things. You're channeling it towards your success. So, get in perspective and really, really put your energy where it's deserving to go.
Yeah. And I love what you said about if we're confident, and the confidence comes from deep inside us, we really are happy with who we are and our life is balanced, then we aren't playing those games. Then we want all women to rise. We want all women to be successful and happy. And I think that that's an incredible goal for us as women, that we want that for one another.
And it's fulfilling inside, too. When you deliberately know that you could have brought someone up and you did not, that's not a good feeling. Like, even if you think up front it is, your unconscious it's not in line with a basic value system. So you're going to feel that if you're consistently pushing people down, you're going to feel that in life all of the time, and you might not know where it's coming from, but that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, no, you're so right. So is there one final thing, since we're ending the show soon, what's one thing that you'd like to share before we end?
I think I would just really like to actually give a challenge to everybody out there, and that would be going back to the life rules, since that's the first step, and that's the most important step in finding fulfillment and balance. You need to know what your priorities are and what actually needs to be in balance in life so that you can get everything else done, and you can be more apt to say no to things that take you off of your priorities and your goals. So I challenge everybody out there today to take time to create a list, a healthy list, 15 to 25 life roles, and then from that list, circle the top 5. And as you go in, you step into your day tomorrow, keep those 5 priorities in mind as you make decisions.
Fantastic. Jaime, thank you so much for being on the show. And everyone, you can get her book, The Superwoman's Guide to Super Fulfillment. Thanks so much, and all the best to you. And thank you, my amazing listeners, for taking this time for yourself in order to create more balance, more harmony, and more joy. Please join me next week to welcome Philip Shepard, author of New Self, New World, who will help us move out of our heads and into our bodies.
You've been listening to The Transformative Show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now, and who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine.